Okay, office episode. Welcome to the season finale of season 2 of the Consulting Diaries. Now, if you've always been here, you know how we do. If you're new, thank you. Hit the subscribe button to stay up to date with everything championship mode related. Alright, we're in the office today. Pretty chill day. Had a coaching session, was doing some training, got some work to catch up on, but wanted to fit this episode in before anything else happens, before I get back home. So, what are we up to today? Today, we're talking about being a world-class consultant. If you've been here since the beginning, we've talked about consulting, what it looks like, dark side of consulting, surviving consulting, thriving in consulting, and now how to be world class, how to get that piece of greatness and run with it. That's literally gonna be today's episode. 5 quick fire tips, simple, easy. If you're new to consulting, if you want a career change or anything to do with consulting, management related. And for the last time this season, let's dive in. First one, use discipline and focus to enhance your technical ability. Now, this one's easier said than done, but the point is to say, if you're not a competent consultant, you won't begin to thrive, let alone be world class, right? And so technical ability is something you have to be specific in, you have to be intentional, and discipline and focus can help in that. What do we mean by discipline and focus? We're talking about if you've chosen a career path, the skills that you want, maybe there's a certain industry you want to play in, so it's sort of like to say, okay, I have the discipline to choose a certain industry and stick with it, and then I have the focus to come up with a plan to increase my competence in that industry, in that skill, or whatnot, right? So using your discipline, your focus, kind of like tunnel vision, to enhance your technical ability. So let's make this practical, right? I'm pretty good at business development, proposal writing, creating presentations and slides, but it wasn't always like this. When I was new to PwC 3 years ago, I was like, oh snap, how do all of these things work? But the reason I focused on proposal writing and slide design is I wanted to be able to grow a new line of business from the ground. I wanted to develop a new service, especially where we're going with the world, where you don't know what problems you're going to solve. So it's kind of like, can I develop the skills to start thinking about these things? How do we deliver? How do we put a proposal together? How do we talk to clients? And for me, that business development proposal writing was the first step. So I had the discipline to say, this is what I wanted to do. I had the focus to keep on practicing and practicing and practicing. Step number 2, maximize your creativity by remaining open-minded and curious. Right? Now, this is a often underrated skill of consulting, but being creative really helps with problem solving, bringing in new perspective, new ways of thinking, new ways of doing things, right? And so for me, creativity is one of the things that I try to bring into my work as much as possible. Obviously, there are business rules, there's etiquette, professionalism, and also where you are, the company likes to do things in a certain way. So whatever the rules are, work within those bounds, but in some cases, don't be afraid to color outside of the edges, right? And that's what creativity is. So when I mean creativity, what am I talking about? I literally mean things like storytelling, slide design, information flow, dramatic effects. I kind of like think about movies, my favorite movies, my favorite series that I watch, and I sort of like use their storytelling to be like, this is such a dope storyline. How do we translate that into a work environment? Can we be as captivating? What elements can I use? What dramatic moments, dramatic effects? And it's kind of like, the creativity is starting to come through, right? Because you're bringing it along into your work. And one of the things that really works for me is like, watching movies, series, and then thinking about, can I use this in my work? Another thing is like expanding your sources of information, right? reading thought leadership, reading pieces outside of your work. So maybe you work in operations, but you read something about fashion. I recently learned yesterday that there is fashion consulting, and I thought that was pretty cool, right? Learn about sports, learn about shoe design, those different pieces of knowledge and how to bring them in can help you unlock a different step in creativity. One thing I like to do as well is like go to galleries, take walks, and just literally just look at the design to be like, why am I drawn to this piece? Can I design a slide so perfectly poised that when the client looks at it, they'll say, why am I attracted to this slide? And that's the whole idea of creativity. Creativity helps problem solving. It literally just makes your work better as a world-class consultant. Now, if you want further deep dives into steps 1 and 2, check out Essentials of a PwC consultant, and I dive into some elements there. But obviously the points on creativity and the points on discipline and focus to enhance technical ability are new. So yeah, I hope they were like practical with the examples that I put through. Now, step number 3 is literally saying, prioritize your holistic wellness to help you reach that world-class status, right? I mean, if you've been here, at Championship Mode Collective, we focus on holistic wellness. We focus on bringing your whole self. We focus on like fully engaging and being immersed in who you are and living your purpose, and holistic wellness is one of them. What do I mean by holistic wellness? Different things for different people, but the one thing I like is how Nike talk about it, right? Nike says holistic wellness focuses on 5 things: nutrition, movement, recovery, sleep, mindset. And this is how it looks for me, right? I'm up at 6 a.m., 40 minutes of calisthenics, 10 minutes meditation. I make sure I get some decent breakfast, whether it's cornflakes, sometimes it's on the go, whether it's yogurt, get something into the body. Make sure my mindset is right while I'm working. I take regular breaks. I remember to breathe in. I remember to breathe out. Get back home, do what I need to do, just making sure like the quality and the performance is high. Sometimes I take breaks, right? When I'm like, when I feel like I'm just not focusing, that's also okay. Then when we get to the end of the day, we focus on recovery, and by 11:30 we're focusing on sleep. We're getting as much sleep as possible. And 6 a.m. we repeat everything again. And this is literally my blueprint for holistic wellness, but it's really important to figure out what that means for you, because in some cases it's balancing your personal life with your work life and what holistic wellness means across the board. Some people will call it work-life balance, but sometimes work is really difficult when you have a lot of travel. Sometimes you work till late, like 8 p.m. So in your life, figure out what holistic wellness means to you. Figure out what is important in terms of, okay, the workout is important, the meditation is important, the sleep is important. Or you can say the sleep is important, eating well is important, taking regular breaks is important, right? Different strokes, different folks, but it's important to figure out what holistic wellness means. Otherwise, consulting will just take and take and take. And next thing you know, you are surviving consulting instead of thriving in reaching world class. Step number 4. Create psychological safety in your working environment. Now, what is psychological safety, right? Basically, psychological safety is literally giving everyone the room, the space, the opportunity to challenge, to add, to contribute without ridicule, without judgment, without any form of back talk, without feeling, out of place. Just giving equal weight to everyone, right? Giving people the opportunity to be themselves without any backlash, without feeling like they can't be themselves. In a nutshell, that's what psychological safety looks like. And where does this come from? Google's Aristotle project. So pretty much Google went on a long-term deep dive in terms of what makes their high-performing teams high-performing. I think it was like a 5-year or 7-year project, can't really remember. And they came up with 5 things, right? There was dependability, psychological safety, clear roles and structure. Can't remember the other 2 easily. But the number 1 indicator was the level of psychological safety in the team. And I thought that was really, really cool, right? And coupling psychological safety with the high level of accountability creates a learning zone where individuals feel like they have a stake in what's going on. They are willing to give their best selves, to come up with their best ideas, to be creative, to be innovative, right? And when you get individuals performing in that zone, we call it a high performance zone, right? Without the burnout, which obviously is important and points back to step number 3, right? Holistic wellness. Now, the question you're asking is, how do we create psychological safety? How do I, as an associate or as a junior or X or Y, create psychological safety? And it's pretty simple, right? You have to start small and hopefully you lift as you rise, right? It can be as simple as giving everyone the opportunity to speak, suspending judgment when people give their opinions, getting the not frequently heard voices in the room to speak. You know, when you're in a meeting or like when you're at team socials, ask the people who don't easily give out their opinions, bring them into the conversation, ask for their point of view, make them feel valued, and that way they'll be like, oh, my voice matters. I gave this suggestion and it's actually being followed up, right? So psychological safety, I found, is best when you start small and then, it snowballs into a much bigger and much sustained outcome. Expose your brand within and outside your organization to grow and build your network. Simply put, market yourself across different teams, different locations, different countries, different territories, wherever. Get yourself involved in many different things. Get your name, get your brand out there. LinkedIn events, career fair events, anything to just get your brand out there. What this does, right, is when people start seeing your brand, they associate it with who you are, right, and your technical ability. And that link starts to build credibility. Because once they see the brand, they're like, this girl's good. Oh, this guy's good. Like, wow, world class. That's the level we want. And it starts becoming an attractive sort of like snowball effect where a lot of people start, saying good things about you. Once the credibility starts to form and really become like concrete and associated with your brand, the next step is to be specific in the expertise you want to aim for. This really helps, and this is important as you start aiming for project leads and management roles, right? So in my case, for example, sustainable procurement is something that I'm getting into, and I'm really enjoying building my expertise, learning different things, reading different articles. And the next step for me is to then be like, okay, all of this information I'm gathering, what does it mean for me? What does it mean for the team? What does it mean for PwC South Africa, right? Because I want to be an expert in that field, right? To be able to have a credible voice in the industry. So you see how it all links together. Brand, technical ability, credibility. Credibility, specific expertise. Expertise, management roles, more credibility in the industry. So setting your brand, we've discussed this in a previous episode in season 1 of the Consulting Diaries. Setting your brand is really important, and that discipline and that focus to carry it out and be consistent is also important. Now, let me add 2 bonus steps before we get to the recap, right? And basically, these 2 steps will really help you solidify the foundations and give you a good platform on your ascent to world-class status, right? Step number 1, or bonus number 1 rather, is to say, consistently practice the fundamentals of consulting. Don't stop, don't quit. If you're tired, rest. But if you rest too long, you rust. And as a consultant, it's important to be at the top of your game, not all the time, but most of the time. bonus number 2, your ambition and your self-belief must be delusional. It's you and you versus the world. You need all the help you can get, and it's important to believe in yourself. The belief that comes from within cannot be denied, especially when your credibility, your brand, and your ambition starts to solidify and people understand who you are as a person. So those 2 will really just help solidify the 5 main steps as you focus on honing in on that world-class mark. Okay, let's recap. I need the help of my notes because I've said quite a mouthful. Okay, first things first, using your discipline and focus to enhance your technical ability. Figure out what you want to be good at, come up with a plan to get through it. Step number 2, creativity. Bring in lots of creativity into your work. Remain open-minded, stay curious. That will help you just stay one step ahead of the game. Step number 3, prioritizing your holistic wellness will help you reach that world-class status even quicker. No matter the performance you reach, imagine how better it would be if you were taking care of all the elements that can help you reach world-class status. Number 4, psychological safety. Aim to create psychological safety in your working environment, in your teams, and in all your interactions. At work, outside of work, and just make that part of your brand. And speaking of brand, expose your brand, figure out what you want your brand to be, figure out what you want to be known for, and build and grow your network within your organization and outside of your organization as well. Now, those are the 5 main. Let's get to the bonus. First one, simple, consistently practice. You can't get around practice. And the second step, your self-belief, your ambition must be delusional. Okay, that's literally it for season 2. You understand consulting? Well, more parts than not. You know what the dark side looks like, you know how to survive it, you know what thriving looks like, and you know how to get to world class. All that's left is to go forth and conquer. You now have 2 solid seasons. I repeat, 2 solid seasons of consulting materials that you won't find anywhere else. From me, thank you for staying tuned for season 2. Season 3 is in the works. I have no idea what season 3 is going to be about. But let me go on my break, let me enjoy the festive, and I'm gonna come up with some really new ideas, really good ideas just to help us take this consulting thing another step forward. But there's nothing else to say. As usual, you know what to do. Stay in championship mode.